Biblical scholars have argued for years about the location of these holy sites. Now, one man says he might have found them.
The search for the true mountain of God just took a massive leap forward, and the results are honestly pretty shocking.
Saudis do block off these archaeological sites that we believe are linked to Moses and the Exodus, which prevented really high-quality video and photos from coming out to the outside world.
A special drone scan just revealed hidden chambers and geometric patterns buried deep under the mountain known as the Forbidden Peak. For starters, these structures are too perfect to be natural, and they suggest a massive group of people once lived right here. What most people don't realize is that this site has been guarded for centuries, but the radar does not lie. This scan is the smoking gun that might finally solve a mystery that is thousands of years old. Secret scans reveal buried desert structures. The crazy part is that these structures have been hidden for thousands of years, and they sit right at the base of a mountain that many people believe is the real Mount Sinai. For a long time, scholars argued that Mount Sinai was in the middle of the Egyptian peninsula, but this new data points somewhere else entirely. The radar images show what looks like a massive organized camp with structures that could have housed a huge number of people. It's not that simple, though, because this mountain is in a very restricted area where the local government does not usually let people dig. But the drone does not need permission to see through the ground, and the images it sent back are crystal clear. These scans reveal that the mountain is not just a natural formation, but a place where humans once lived and built massive ritual sites. We are talking about foundations for buildings that stretch for hundreds of feet across the desert floor. And get this, the shapes are too precise to be anything other than man-made. Some of the buried rooms are rectangular and line up perfectly with the cardinal directions. This kind of planning shows that whoever was here had a very specific purpose. For starters, this mountain has always been a mystery, because the very top of it is jet black, looking as if it was burned by an incredible heat, while the rest of the mountain is light-colored granite. The radar also found large circular patterns that look like they could be the bases of ancient tents or small huts. These patterns are spread out over a wide area, suggesting a giant group of travelers once stayed here for a long time. Scientists are calling this one of the most significant finds in the history of the region because it provides physical data where we used to only have stories. Hands down, this is the most compelling evidence ever found that supports the idea of a massive movement of people through this specific desert. Everyone's obsessed with finding the truth about the ancient past, and this drone just gave us the map we needed to find it. But here is the catch. Even with these scans, the debate is far from over. Some experts say these structures could be from a different time or a different group of people. However, the sheer size and the specific layout of the ruins match the ancient descriptions of the camp at the base of the holy mountain almost perfectly. The drone even found evidence of water management systems, like small channels and pits designed to catch the rare desert rain. This proves that a large group could have survived in this harsh environment if they knew what they were doing. The most intriguing part of the scan is a set of 12 massive buried circles near the base of a large stone platform. Many people believe these represent the 12 pillars built to represent the different families of the ancient travelers. If that is true, we are looking at the actual site of one of the most famous events in human history. The data shows that these pillars are made of a different kind of stone than the surrounding area, which means they were brought here on purpose. Basically, the mountain is giving up its secrets after thousands of years of silence. We are seeing a level of detail that was invisible to the naked eye for generations. The drone has opened a window into a world that we thought was lost forever. And that's putting it lightly, because if these structures are confirmed to be what people think they are, every history book in the world will have to be updated. Researchers are now looking at the data to see if there are even more hidden chambers deeper inside the mountain itself. The radar has already shown some hollow spaces that do not look like natural caves. These could be ancient storehouses, or even places of worship that were carved into the rock and then covered by falling debris over the centuries. It's a giant puzzle, and we are finally seeing the pieces. The discovery has sparked a new wave of interest in the Arabian Sinai theory. For years, people were told to look in Egypt, but the drone is telling us to look across the water in Saudi Arabia. The evidence is literally piling up under the sand, and it is only a matter of time before someone gets the chance to dig and see it for themselves. The high-tech radar has done in a few days what explorers could not do in centuries of searching on foot. It has provided a blueprint of an ancient world that was hidden right in plain sight. The mystery of the black-topped mountain is finally starting to make sense as we see what lies beneath its shadows. What most people don't realize is that the physical evidence at this mountain goes way beyond just the radar scans. If you look at the mountain with your own eyes, the first thing you notice is the scorched summit. It's not just a different color, the rocks at the very top look like they have been baked in a giant oven. Geologists who have snuck into the area say the rock is actually granite that has been changed by extreme heat, which is very unusual for this region. This matches the old stories that say the mountain was covered in smoke and fire when a great power descended upon it. Just a few miles from the base of the mountain sits one of the most bizarre geological features in the world. It's a massive boulder, over 5 stories tall, that has been split cleanly down the middle. This isn't a jagged break. It looks like a giant sword sliced through it. The crazy part is that there is clear evidence of water erosion at the base of this rock, even though it sits in a place that gets almost zero rain today. The smooth channels carved into the stone suggest that a huge amount of water once gushed out from the split, exactly like the story of the rock that was struck to give the thirsty travelers something to drink. At the base of the mountain, there is also a giant stone altar covered in carvings of cows and bulls. This is strange because these kinds of animals were not native to this part of the desert. The carvings look exactly like the ancient Egyptian style of worshipping the golden calf. So, here's the deal. If a group of people had just come from Egypt, it would make sense for them to carve the things they were used to seeing. The altar is huge and is made of massive rocks that would have required hundreds of people to move into place. The drone also spotted long lines of stones that look like boundaries. In the ancient records, the people were warned not to cross a certain line or touch the base of the mountain. These stone markers stretch for a long distance and seem to create a clear no-go zone around the peak. It's not a fence, but more like a symbolic border that anyone living there would have understood. When you combine these stone lines with the radar scans of the buried camp, the picture becomes very clear. Another interesting find is a set of ancient foot carvings found on the rocks near the mountain. These are not just random shapes, they are carvings of sandals. In the ancient world, placing your foot on a piece of land was a way of claiming it. These sandal carvings are found all along the path leading to the mountain, as if the travelers were marking their journey. The detail is amazing, and you can even see the straps of the sandals in some of the better preserved carvings. The area around the mountain is also home to ancient wells that are still there today. These wells are deep and were clearly built to support a lot of people and their animals. One specific well is located near a cluster of palm trees and is still used by local herders. This fits the description of the oasis where the travelers rested after their long trek through the desert. The crazy part is that these wells are located exactly where the old maps say they should be. Researchers have also found pieces of pottery scattered across the desert floor near the mountain. While a lot of it is from later times, some of the fragments are very old and match the style used during the time of the Great Journey. Pottery is like a fingerprint for archaeologists, and these shards tell a story of a mobile group of people who were carrying their lives with them in jars and bowls. And get this, the pottery is found in the same areas where the drone saw the buried tent circles. There is also a massive cave on the side of the mountain that overlooks the plain. People believe this could be the cave where the famous prophet stayed while he was hiding. From the entrance of the cave, you can see the entire area where the camp would have been. It's a perfect vantage point, and it adds another layer of realism to the location. The cave shows signs of being used by humans for a long time, with soot on the ceiling from ancient fires. All of these physical clues are like pieces of a giant historical crime scene. We have the scorched mountain, the split rock, the altar, the pillars, and the pottery. Separately, they are just interesting rocks, but together, they form a story that is hard to ignore. The radar scans have just given us the final piece by showing that there is even more hidden underneath the surface. Hands down, this location has more physical evidence than any other candidate for the Holy Mountain. While scholars used to laugh at the idea of the mountain being in Saudi Arabia, they are not laughing anymore. The data is too strong and the physical features are too specific to be a coincidence. The mountain stands as a silent witness to events that shaped the world as we know it. The more we look at the ground, the more we realize that the past is much closer than we think. Ancient geography proves the location is correct. For a long time, everyone thought Mount Sinai had to be in the Sinai Peninsula because of the name. But here is the catch. The name Sinai Peninsula was actually given to that area much later by researchers and monks. In the ancient world, the land across the water was known as Midian, and the old texts say the holy mountain was located in Midian. The drone scans were focused on the land of Midian, because that is where the man who led the travelers lived for 40 years before he ever went back to Egypt. If you look at the maps from the time of the Roman Empire, they actually label the area in Saudi Arabia as Arabia. One of the early leaders of the church even wrote that Mount Sinai is a mountain in Arabia. At that time, the peninsula in Egypt was not called Arabia, but the land where Jabal al-Lawz sits was. This simple geographical fact changes the whole search area. It means we have been looking in the wrong country for over 1,000 years. The journey from Egypt to this mountain also makes more sense if you look at the terrain. The travelers would have crossed a specific point in the Red Sea where the water is shallow and there is a natural underwater land bridge. This crossing leads directly into the land of Midian. Just across the water from that crossing is where the split rock and the mountain are located. It's a straight shot, and it follows the natural paths that traders and nomads have used for centuries. The drone scans also showed that the area was much more green in the past. The radar found evidence of ancient riverbeds, called wadis, that are now dried up and buried under the sand. Thousands of years ago, this region had more water and could support a large population. This explains how such a huge group of people could have lived in what is now a harsh desert for an entire year. They weren't just wandering aimlessly. They were staying in a place that had the resources they needed. What most people don't realize is that the local people in Saudi Arabia have their own traditions about this mountain. They have called it the Mountain of Moses for generations, long before any Western explorers showed up with drones. Local legends are often based on real history, and the fact that the name has stuck for so long is a huge clue. They even have stories about the Black Peak and how it got its color from a divine fire. The location also fits the timeline of the journey perfectly. The ancient records say it took the travelers a specific number of days to reach the mountain after crossing the sea. If you walk from the Red Sea crossing to Jabal al-Lawz, it takes exactly that amount of time. If you try to do the same thing in the Egyptian peninsula, the distances don't match up at all. The geography is like a lock, and the ancient story is the key. And get this, the drone found traces of an ancient road that leads from the mountain toward the north. This road was likely part of the King's Highway, a famous trade route that connected the Red Sea to the land of Israel. The travelers would have used these established paths to move their families and animals. The radar picked up the packed earth and stone foundations of this road, even where it has been covered by shifting dunes. Basically, every piece of geographical data we have points to this one specific spot. From the name of the land to the distances between the stops, it all fits Jabal al-Lawz better than any other place on Earth. The drone scans have simply confirmed that there is a massive man-made footprint exactly where the geography says it should be. It's not just a legend anymore. It's a physical reality that we can map and study. The crazy part is how long this was hidden because of politics and borders. Because the mountain is in a sensitive military zone in Saudi Arabia, it has been off-limits to most researchers for decades. This allowed the old theories to stay alive even though they didn't have much evidence. Now that technology is letting us see over the fences, the truth is finally coming out. Everyone's obsessed with finding the real site, and it looks like the search might finally be over. The drone has given us the high-definition proof that we were looking in the wrong place all along. The desert is finally giving up its maps, and they lead to a place no one expected to find. The secrets of the sand are being revealed one pixel at a time. While the drone is finding new things in Saudi Arabia, we have to look at the history of the other mountain in Egypt to understand why people were confused. For hundreds of years, St. Catherine's Monastery has been the center of the story. It was built in the 600s at the base of a mountain that the monks claimed was the real Sinai. For starters, the monastery is beautiful, and it has a library that is second only to the Vatican in its collection of ancient books. It even has a bush that the monks say is the original burning bush. The crazy part is that the monastery was built because of a dream and a visit from a Roman empress named Helena. She traveled the world in the 300s looking for holy sites, and she decided this mountain was the one. But there's a catch. She didn't have drones or radar. She just went based on what the local monks told her. Once the monastery was built and the Roman Empire put its seal on it, the location became official for the next 1500 years. The monks at St. Catherine's have worked incredibly hard to protect their history. They have lived through wars and changes in government, and they have kept their traditions alive the whole time. They even have a document signed by a famous leader that says, "No one is allowed to hurt the monastery or the monks." This protection allowed them to save thousands of ancient icons and manuscripts that would have been destroyed anywhere else. But get this, even the monks' own records show that they were sometimes unsure about the location. Over the centuries, different groups of monks argued about which peak was the right one. And what most people don't realize is that the burning bush in the monastery is a species that is not native to that specific valley. It was likely brought there and planted because people expected to see it. It's a symbol of faith, but it might not be a piece of history. The monastery also has a well of Moses, where they say he met his wife. It's a very holy place for pilgrims, and thousands of people visit it every year to touch the water. While the tradition is powerful, the radar scans in Saudi Arabia show that there are similar wells there that match the older descriptions even better. It's not that the monks were lying. They were just doing their best with the information they had at the time. The history of the monastery is a story of faith and survival. It shows how much people want to be close to the events of the past. Even if the mountain in Egypt is not the real one, the monastery is still one of the most important historical sites in the world. It has preserved the culture and the language of the early church in a way that nothing else could. So, here's the deal. We can respect the history of the monks while also looking at the new data from the drones. The drone scan doesn't take away from the beauty of St. Catherine's. It just adds a new chapter to the story. We are learning that the mountain of God might be a much larger concept than just one single peak in the desert. The crazy part is that the monks themselves have always been seekers of truth. Their library is full of different accounts of the journey, and they have always been open to studying the ancient texts. If they had access to drone technology 1500 years ago, they might have built their monastery in a different spot. But they built it where they did, and they created a legacy that has lasted for ages. The monastery stands as a bridge between the ancient world and the modern one. It reminds us that people have been searching for these holy places for a very long time. The drone is just the latest tool in a search that started with a single woman's journey through the desert. Hands down, the work of the monks is the only reason we even have the stories today. They kept the flame alive through the darkest times in history. What do you think about these new drone scans and the Arabian Sinai theory? Is the evidence finally strong enough to change the history books, or are we still missing something big? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the secrets of the desert, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more unbelievable stories.